Welcome back everybody to the last video in our Spiritforged Set Review series. In this video we're going through the order cards, and what we're doing is giving them each an A, B or C. A for the meta defining cards, the staples, the play arounds, that kind of thing, the build arounds. A B for the filler cards that we'll see in some decks but just kind of make up the empty slots and aren't overly powerful, and then C for the rubbish cards. So let's get into it. The order cards are on the menu for today. The first one is Bonds of Strength. 2 for a reaction, repeat 2, give 2 friendly units each +1 this turn. Combat Trick, in terms of rate, it's on rate. It's 2 might for 2 energy, repeat 2, do it again. Nothing overly special here, I don't think. It's sort of the same sort of rate that you're seeing from things like Call to Glory and that kind of thing, but these are usually quite powerful. It doesn't jump out as anything that's going to warp the meta, but we might see it in a few decks, so I'll give this a B. Next up, Eminent Benefactor, 6 for a 5, below rate on cost. When I hold, play 2 gear tokens exhausted. I think 1 hold is enough to kind of get the payback on the investment, but you're not even guaranteed that. So I don't think this is going to see too much play just because it's not an on-rate unit to begin with, which is really what you want. There's a lot better things out here you want to be doing at the 6-drop slot. So this one's going to get a C from me. Next up, Eye of the Herald. 1 for a gear, equip. When I move, play a recruit unit token here. This creates a recruit on both moving to a battlefield and back to base. So these can start to stack up. You might see these played in Azir archetype, and yeah, potentially anything else that kind of uses equipment. I'm kind of torn. Like 1 might is not super strong, but the extra body is. So you're going to get value out of cards like this on things like Trifarian, or when you're comboing it with some pump spells like Grant Stratagem, or any of the other ones that are out there, like the Rek'Sai Worm thing, the Under Titan, I think it's called. Cards like that make this one more powerful. Definitely going to see some play though. I think just having an extra body for other equips and for like the kind of go wide strategies. This is a really cheap way to get bodies on the board. So this is going to see some play for sure. I'm going to give it a B plus though. Not overly powerful, but it does its job really well. Next up, Guards. 3 for a hidden. Player 2 might Sand Soldier unit token. You may pay an order to ready it. This looks like an Azir card for sure. Just playing it outright isn't very strong. Just 2 might for 3. There's better ways to kind of get that same sort of effect. I mean, you can just play an equipment and create a Sand Soldier with Azir. But where this is really powerful is the hidden mechanic. It's not just that you're revealing it and playing a 2 might Sand Soldier unit on your opponent's turn, but you're using it as a combat trick because the Sand Soldier has Weapon Master. So when you flip it, you get the 2 might body, but then you also bring in a equip that you have, like a BF sword or a brutalizer or something like that, at reaction speed, or as a combat trick. So you can go from 2 to 5 might with a brutalizer, let's say. So because of that, this is like quite a strong card, and I think it might be slept on a little bit. Combat trick for Azir decks, it's going to get a B plus just because of how narrow it is. Like it's really only for Azir decks at the moment, I think. But very strong, and you'll see this in a few lists going forward. Next up, Honest Broker. 2 for a 2, Death Knell. When I die, I get a gold. Lots of strategies want this kind of gold token. So Lux, Renata, Victor, and even some of the other off-color stuff like Set and whatever can just use this as a 2-drop body with a gold token that kind of aids with development in the mid to late game. It's not overly powerful, but it's the 2-drop of choice in the sort of mid-range to high-end ramp. Not ramp, but not the full aggro builds. The full aggro builds, you want a better 2-drop than this, but if you're kind of playing for the 5 and 6 drop slots that require power, this is a really good filler unit to get there and make the 5 and 6 drop slots not too punishing. So we're going to see this in a lot of decks, I think, because of that B+, not format warping or anything, and not a build around, so it misses out on the A, but it is very strong. Next up, Laurent Duelist, 4 energy for a 3 might, Assault 2. Underrate on the costs. Assault 2 doesn't really make up for it. If you kind of look at it on offense versus defense, this equates to +2 on offense, +0 on defense, so averages out to sort of 4 for a 4 on rate, but doesn't do anything else. Much rather play something like Fiora in this slot, and obviously it's a common versus Fiora's rare, so just gotta print those as part of the set, but this won't see play because there's strictly better cards out there, so this gets a C. Next up, Royal Guard, 4 for a 2. When you play me, you play a 2 Might Sand Soldier unit token here. This is kind of like the early Victor token equivalents of Azir, right? Like you're just paying for the exact might you're getting, but it's split over 2 bodies, and one of them's a Sand Soldier unit, so you can use it for Weapon Master. Not overly powerful, I don't think, because you can just play equipment in this spot in the Azir anyway. BF Sword and equip and that kind of thing. And then get the reusability out of your equipment. So I don't think it's going to see much play. It's on rate. I mean, it's not bad. It's a B-. If anything, it's not complete rubbish, but yeah, just always better things to do in this slot. So this gets a B-. Sandshifter, 5 and 2 power for a 6. This is already an expensive card. What does it do when you play me? Kill an enemy unit with 3 might or less. Kind of niche. Might be good against certain strategies, but I have a vision of what I think the sort of format's going to shake out like, and there's some things that kill 3 mights or gust things where it's like returning things that are 3 might. Anything that specifies like a might level or under is kind of like in the same basket as like damage are going to get devalued in this set, because there's a lots of like quick draw equipment and things like that that can you can react to this ability and just play quick draw equipment, and then this does nothing, and you've paid a whole bunch of power and stuff for no effect. So there's potential for like blowouts on your own thing. You really want some more certainty around the abilities that come with these expensive cards, and this one just isn't it. It might find its home in trying to deal with some kind of aggro strategies. It would be a 2 for 1 if you can get a kill off cleanly, but there's no guarantee, and it's, you want to hit these type of effects on curve and just slam them and get some sort of advantage. And if the opponent's holding up a long sword, for example, this just it's very, very painful for you. So because of its situationality, I'm going to give it a C. I don't think it's going to see much play. Next up, we've got Trusty Ramhound. While you have another unit here, I have +1, 2 for 2, possibly a 3. It's kind of too narrow, I think. There's not really much more to it. It can be a 3. It goes well with the kind of token strategies, either Azir or Victor type lists. But until they come out with some dog type guild kind of mechanic that gives all dogs benefits and stuff like that, I don't think that this is going to see many decks. So I'll give this a B-. Just on rate, it's not bad, but I'd rather have the Death Knell guy that can give me a gold or something like that. That's a bit more kind of guaranteed. All right, next up, Zorn Punk. You may kill a friendly gear as an additional cost to play me. When you play me, if you pay the additional cost, kill a gear. 3 for a 3. Lets you kind of sack gold tokens to kill opponent's gear. It's kind of cool. You don't really want to be sacking your good stuff like seals or anything like that. But so the setup cost is kind of a little bit high for this, paying 3 for 3, but on the first turn you need to get some gold out or something like that to make it worthwhile. Makes it a little bit narrow, but it is gear removal, and on rate it's not bad, so let's give this one a B-. Next up, BF Sword, 4 for a 3 might equip. The rate's not bad. Equipment in general is just pretty good. This is going to see play in Azir for sure, and potentially some of the other yellow decks that are playing equipment. But nothing special. Just anything that we can use to kind of cheat equips and stuff is also good for this. But yeah, I'm not super high on this card. It's just going to fill equipment slots in Azir till we get better equipment, I think. So we'll give this a B. Blood Money, 2 for a killer unit at a battlefield with 2 might or less. You either get a gold or you get 2 gold if it was your unit. Gold is quite powerful. This is a pretty narrow card. There's only a handful of targets for this, and it's mostly like the aggressive type strategies. Like this might be good against decks like Annie, or opposing Victor decks or something like that. But it's kind of against Azir, like anything that's coming in is going to be roughly like the 2 cents Ultra plus whatever's equipped to it. So there's not too many targets in Azir. Things like Aurelia is going to be too big. This is quite narrow, but I think when it's good, when you bring it in, even if it's a sideboard card, when you bring it in, if it's good, it's really, really good. I'm going to give this a B because it's good, but it's narrow, right? And it's not overly powerful. So leave this as a solid B. Kind of slept on a little bit too, this card. People need to try it out. Death Grip, I've seen this pop up in a few lists. Kill a friendly unit to give might equal to its might to another friendly unit, draw 1. Reaction speed, cantrip, combat trick, all good things. And typically you want to use it something in base to buff a unit at a battlefield in combat. The fact that you have to kill a friendly unit is pretty bad, but if you've got a way to generate units on a stick, whether it's through something like Rek'Sai's legend ability or through Azir's legend ability, things like that, this makes this a lot stronger, because you kind of not really, if you win the combat, you kind of get a card off Rek'Sai type thing, and you draw a card off itself. So cool combat trick. Weird to kind of set up and stuff, but it's not too difficult. And yeah, just again, nothing special, I don't think, but we'll see some play. Let's go B+ on this. No, let's give it a B. Give it a B. All right, Drag Under. 5 and a banana to kill a unit at a battlefield. It costs 2 less if you play it from anywhere other than your hand. Obviously, the design intent for this is from Rek'Sai's reveals, but it's a strictly better version of an existing card that we had that does a similar thing, so it just kills a unit at a battlefield. I think it costs 1 more. The just outright removal of something at a battlefield at action speed is very strong. If you can get the discount, it's better than the rate you would expect. I think I worked out it was four and a power or something like that to kill a unit was about what the design was. Designers have costed things like effects like this at. So if we can get it for 3 and 1, it's below rate. If it's 5 and 1, it's a little bit over costed. So it's somewhere in the middle. But either way, playing this in Rek'Sai will be brought in probably from sideboard in a few different matches. But there's also some Victor and Lux builds that just want straight up removal. Obviously it triggers Lux. Victor's heavy removal version is also just going to play this to out a unit. And yeah, solid. I'll give this a B. We're going to see it as a kind of filler card in a couple of different decks. Alright, up next is Glass Mixologist. 5 energy and a power for a 5 might. Death Knell, when you may play a unit with no cost more than 3 and 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost. Similar sort of ability to Spectral Matron, but it's a Death Knell trigger. Might find its home in hook variants and things like that. It's below rate on initial power, but you've got to wait till Death Knell to trigger it, rather than on play like Matron. But it's a little bit cheaper than Matron on power, so I'm going to put it in the same kind of ballpark as Matron and say that it will see play in a couple of different decks, but that they're just going to be kind of fringe at or filler type cards for those decks. So B- for Glass Mixologist. Next up we got Rally the Troops. 2 energy for an action. Whenever a friendly unit is played this turn, buff it, draw 1. Seems like the design intent for this is to couple it with things like Armory, or even Rek'Sai's playing stuff from the top of your deck. You really want to get a couple of different triggers of this effect to buff multiple units in order to pay for itself. It is a cantrip, but it wastes 2 energy to essentially replace itself, so you want to get at least 2 triggers. So it seems like Armory is probably your best bet to trigger this, or some really fast aggro variant of Rek'Sai. Solid card though. B, again, nothing special, just a little bit of a build around and to kind of maximize the value that you can get from it. Next up, Unsung Hero. 2 for 2, Death Knell, False Mighty, draw 2. To make this mighty is a little bit of a stretch. I mean, you can equip things like BF swords and so on, but you've got to play it, make it mighty, then send it in to trade or get some value out of it to draw 2. Seems like a lot of work to get this done. So until we get effects that we can use to kind of reliably trigger this whenever we want and trade it out, like some sort of challenge or fighting type mechanic would be really cool with this. Maybe just BF sword and challenge in some sort of set list or something like that might be quite good. On rate though, I would kind of cross out this text box unless I've got some plan to make sure that this triggers every turn. So 2 for 2. If it does nothing else, that's not that great. So I'm going to give this a B minus. Okay, next card, Vanguard Armory. 7 and a power for gear that you can tap to play 3 recruit unit tokens. Design philosophy of this card is screaming out control-esque type decks to me. So it's something that you just want to play and make an endless supply of 3 recruits, and the rest of the cards in your deck would just be like removing units and interacting with the opponent, and eventually these recruits will get too much and will overwhelm the opponent. So there's some synergies here with obviously the Jace, being able to sneak this out on turn 2 if you've got a gold or a seal to sack to Jace. That makes this particularly strong. But you will see this card in some different controlling archetypes like Lux and Victor, and very strong card, kind of Planeswalker-esque if you come from a Magic background. So let's give this an A. I think it's a good enough build around, and it's not format warping, so we'll give it an A-, but it is really, really, really strong. So give this a go if you haven't already. Vanguard Armor is an A, and just play this and a bunch of removal stuff, and you're good to go. Next up, Altar of Memories. 2 for a gear. When a friendly unit dies, you may exhaust me to draw 1, and then put a card from your hand on top or bottom of your main deck. I don't think this is particularly strong right now, but this is one that can definitely go up with future sets. It doesn't draw you a card like Spirit Wheel or anything like that, but allowing you to put a card from your hand on top or bottom of your deck will enable things like effects similar to Nocturne, right? Where when you reveal them using some other card in your deck, obviously like Rek'Sai or something, you can get some sort of benefit from those. If the design intent for this at the moment is to put cheap stuff on top of your deck so that when you go into combat and trigger Rek'Sai, you can chain them off. Things like the Under Titan to get mana or free energy. That's kind of cool, but it's a lot of work for minimal effect at the moment. There's going to be some stronger effects in future sets that make this a really cool card to play in some sort of combo deck. So C for now. Next up, Rek'Sai Swarm Queen. 5 and a power for a 5 might. When I attack, you may reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play 1, then recycle the rest. To play cards a unit, you may play it here. Below rate on power, the attack trigger is kind of cool. You want to be revealing stuff with Rek'Sai to as much as you can to get the cheap units and Under Titan triggers and so on. But because there's not that many of those payoff cards in Rek'Sai at the moment, this isn't that great. The cool thing is that it's an attack trigger, not a conquer or hold trigger, so you get a free trigger off it essentially. It's cool to just get free cards. You want to put as many cheap things in this deck as you can, but this one itself is expensive, which means you're going to be revealing other Rek'Sai Swarm Queens from the top, unless you play this from the Champ Zone, which I haven't considered. So this might be an interesting inclusion in the Champ Zone of Rek'Sai as chosen champion. Initial Impressions, though, it's strong, but I'm wondering if we still stick with red Rek'Sai. My initial impressions is red Rek'Sai is probably better, but who knows? This is something that I could be wrong on, and in a month or so that this one becomes the go-to Champ Zone unit for Rek'Sai. So let's give it a B, just based on power level. See if we can figure out a way to abuse this attack trigger, and might go up a little bit. Next up, that's the alt art version of the same thing. Next up, we've got Renata, 4 for a 4, and tokens enter ready. Obviously, build me with token strategies with the unlicensed armory that we just had a look at. A little bit below rate. You really need to get a lot of value out of this. This is 1 power you're paying for this effect essentially, and the enter ready ability is quite strong, but let's say we need to trigger it, or not trigger, it's not a trigger, but let's say we need to use this on 4 or 5 units to kind of pay back the power. 2 uses of armory or a couple of following like cards like the Sand Soldier type ones may make this powerful. At the moment I don't see it. I'm going to give it a B-, and we'll see if it can work its way up in the next few weeks. Shears, 2 and a power for a 1 might. Death Knell, when I die, you get to draw 1, and it's quite an expensive card, right? You're paying 3 or 2 and a power, and then an extra power to equip. Really, the only home for this is in kind of like Azir archetype or something where you can cheat out this equip cost, because paying 2 and 2 power for a +1 might and a draw 1 off for death is really, really narrow. It is quite powerful though if you can start like reusing it multiple times and just grinding out multiple draws from the units if you can set up favorable trades. But I'm going to give this a B minus. First impressions B minus. Soraka next. 4 energy, 1 power for a 4 might. Inverse tank, so sign damage last. And if another unit you control will die here, if it has less might than me, heal it instead, exhaust it, and recall it. So you can like play Soraka onto a battlefield with a whole bunch of tokens, and they have to assign damage to all the tokens first because of Soraka's ability, and then when all of those tokens die, they just get healed, exhausted, and recalled, and you can push them back in next turn, creating like a semi-lock situation. If you can protect Soraka with some spells and abilities and stuff, she's quite powerful in the token decks, but outside of that, I think she's got narrow application. So I'm going to give her a B minus just because of her narrow scope. Next up, Treasure Golem, 8 and 2 for a 9 might. 9's pretty massive, but there are lots of big units, spawns, Aurelias, and equipped up little units getting around the format, so it's not that big anymore. When you play me, play 4 gold gear tokens exhausted. A lot of gold. Can you use that on the following turn though? To me, it seems like it might be a strategy for, time warp or something like that in yellow-blue. But problem is you have to pay gold for this, in order to hit the 10 next turn for the time warp. So you should already have 2 gold out by the time you're slamming this on turn 4. It looks like. So if you can figure out a strategy to go turn 1 and 2 playing a couple of gold tokens, and then let's say turn 3 interaction, turn 4 this guy, turn 5 time warp. That's quite a powerful line, but huge top end, and you've got to get there with all the other puzzle pieces. So I'm going to give this a B. Not too bad on power on rate, but just a little bit narrow in terms of how we can use this. Alright, next up we've got Under Titan, one of the cards for Rek'Sai, 6 and a power for a 5 might, semi Grand Stratagem-esque type effect, pumps all of your units +2, not just at battlefields but everywhere, and has this cool line of text which is quite unique, which is, as I'm revealed from your deck, add 2. If we can get multiple reveals off this, we can get lots of free energy and have quite large turns in terms of development and so on. So, not sure what I think about this card. To be fair, it's unique, it's cool, it can lead to some large blowout turns and stuff, but also there's going to be times when you just draw this in your hand off like a mulligan or something like that, and it's stuck there dead in your hand for a bit. You can't make use of the second line of text, and yeah, so it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword. I'm going to give this a B minus. I think we'll see it in some decks for sure, especially Rek'Sai, but on raw stats alone, I don't think it's great. Next, we've got Xin Zhao, 3 and a power for a 4 tank. Quite big piece of text right here. Tank is massive. You're going to have a bunch of units in your base playing Azir and stuff like that, so let's assume that this almost always enters ready. 4 for enters ready, so 3 and a power for a 4 might that enters ready with tank. all the stats line up and say this is a really good card. Not format warping, but really good rate. So it's either a A- or a B+. I'm going to give it a A-. Next up, Azir, 4 for a 4 might. Accelerates. When I attack, you may move any number of token units to this battlefield. Yellow Azir, out of the champ zone with Accelerate, bringing all of your tokens and stuff with it. Quite powerful. I think the yellow Azir is going to win out over the green Azir for the selected champ zone unit for Azir. And 4 for a 4, you can't complain. Then all the text is just gravy. So let's give this an A-. Next up, Blade of the Ruin King, 3 and a power 4, +4 equipped, but you've got to kill a friendly unit. +4 is quite huge, but the power cost and energy cost to set it all up is also quite huge. So at the moment, I'm going to give this a C. I don't think it's playable unless we can figure out ways to cheat this out and not have to kill our own units to equip it to stuff. Kind of cool synergy with the scissors or the shears. If you can equip shears and this go in, you know, you can use, if the unit lives, you can kill it to equip Blade of the Ruin King and then get the Death Knell trigger. But kind of weird niche combo thing that probably won't be beneficial given the cost and the setup and all that stuff. So gonna give this a C. Next up, Karina Viraza, big finisher, 7 and a power for a 6 might. When it moves in, adds 3 tokens, so 9 worth of power, above rate, especially if you accelerate it. Probably a top end closer / staple for token type strategies. Awesome on Trofarian, that kind of thing. Let's go with a B+ on this. Doesn't have that much of an impact in terms of like game breaking text, but you get quite a lot of might for what you're paying, so B+. And last card is Fiora Worthy, 3 for a 3 on rate. I like to see it. And then gravy text. Everything else is beneficial. When a unit you control becomes mighty, you can pay yellow to ready it, and that's going to cause a couple of people some issues with like combat tricks, being able to conquer 2 battlefields in 1 turn, and 3 for 3 out of the champ zone is just good. There's not really much more to say about this. I think it's a good card, and so we're going to give it a B+, I think. Alright, that's it for the order ones. Thanks for tuning in, and let me know if you disagree with anything I've said in the comments. Cheers.